think I'm just mad at myself. Still holding on to this pain.
I've just been aware of the trait as well.
My experience with sickle cell, I would say, hasn't been the easiest. I had a stroke when I was 4. From then onwards, I've been on transfusion. Also, don't take it seriously because they want to see us on the floor, like screaming. Sometimes the white teachers were more understanding than the black teachers.
Okay, guys, I have gist for you. What gist? Let me break it down.
Hi everyone.
Hey guys, we are back.
Back again for
Okay.
episode
I'm serious, people.
episode 3 of season 3 of I Have Just For You.
Okay.
And today we'll talk about a topic that's very near and dear to me and SA. We are talking about sickle cell anemia. And we have the amazing Abby from Sickle First here.
All right, we have a guest. We have a
yes,
guest.
guys,
I know.
Me and SA have wanted to do a sickle cell episode
For the longest.
a while.
Yeah.
As we've spoken a lot, we've known each other for a long time, but only I think last year we found out that we both have sickle cell trait. And just having an interest in it, SA has worked
In a hematology ward.
sure I can't say the word. And I have a family member with sickle cell, so I've grown up quite closely with it and just been aware of the trait as well. So Abby has come to join us, but I'm going to hand over to Abby to introduce herself.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, my name's Abby. I have sickle cell disease, and I also have a charity called Sickle First. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into it a bit more with Abby. But first, how are you both today?
Good.
How's your week going so far?
How's your week going, Abby?
Okay, it's just
Yeah.
that drive was
Just traffic.
London traffic?
literally.
People
was
say it's
so
worse
bad.
than like New York traffic, and it can probably rival it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
because it's like after a certain time we'll just disappear.
Completely.
That's what I don't understand.
So
Like,
where did you
where
go?
did you go? Yeah.
I get that. Someone asked me how far away the studio is from my house. I was like, it's 25 minutes. Unless I go when there's one other car on the road. Suddenly
Literally.
it's an hour away.
Yeah.
What is driving? But how are you? How's
No,
your week going?
good. I just came back from a sparkation. So I'm feeling so zen and nice. So yeah, I've had a great week.
Love that.
I'm tired, but I've had a great week.
Love that.
How about you? How's your week?
My week's going fine. I have a cold, guys, so I'm really feeling sorry for myself. It shouldn't be this dramatic, but
Life is dramatic.
alas, I took a day off work today and I don't really take time off work, actually, so feeling a bit recovered and looking forward to a lovely episode here where we get
Right.
to talk to you guys. But yeah, let's jump in.
Let's jump in.
I guess we'll start with what is sickle cell.
Right, from the jump. So the definition.
I'm gonna get Abby to
Yes. Please correct us, jump in if anything. So, sickle cell anemia is one of the group of inherited disorders known as sickle cell disease. It affects the shape of red blood cells, which carry oxygen to all parts of the body. Red blood cells are usually round and flexible, so they move easily through the blood vessels. In sickle cell anemia, some red blood cells are shaped like sickles or crescent moons. These sickle cells also become rigid and sticky, which can slow or block blood flow.
Yeah, that's
Pretty much what it is.
Accurate.
Okay, cool, fine.
Have you ever seen a picture of a sickle cell?
Yes.
I
Have
know I'm
you?
asking. I'm the one who wouldn't have, right? So, yes, I in fact have. At school, I did a project on sickle cell and,
Okay.
and like, yeah, in our very white school. I teach them something
No,
they
yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Good old
It
school.
was cool.
No, yeah.
To understand, like, just the different. I think, yeah, it's a very different
Difference
shape.
between the shapes, yeah. Completely different.
How would you like to talk us through your experiences with sickle cell and how it's affected almost your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I would say it does affect my day-to-day life. Even like the smallest things, it can have an impact. It hasn't been easy, I would say. Like I've always been very aware that I've had it because of how it's affected me throughout my life. They say it's supposed to get easier. Some people say it gets worse, but I don't know. I feel like the healthcare system in this country as well doesn't really like help either. I feel like if it was a lot better and there was a lot more support for us, then maybe some of the struggles that we face wouldn't affect us so badly, if that makes sense. Yeah.
100%. The healthcare system in this country is an experience, and I do think
Yeah.
for a disease that mainly affects Black people, the experience will always be worse.
Yeah.
100%.
Like there's just
Yeah.
just from the way we're living and the society we're currently living in.
Yeah.
But I know that's where Sickle First is hoping to come in, so we'll get into that in a bit, and you can talk us through. So yeah, I think I mentioned, but who does it mainly affect?
Yeah, so sickle cell, in my research, well, also from what I know, it occurs predominantly in people of African and African Caribbean origin, but cases also occur in families originating from the Middle East, parts of India, the Eastern Mediterranean, and the South and Central America. The common factor to this distribution is a history of malaria or migration from a malarial area. So yeah, it's, I guess, kind of evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this, but I think it was caused by like a mutation.
Yeah.
That was supposed to like have people to have a resistance against malaria. And then it caused
this instead.
Yeah.
Me and Essay are Nigerian originally, and one thing we find is very common and very talked about in Nigeria. But I meet a lot of people here who at least have the trait, if not have sickle cell. But it still doesn't seem to be a known thing outside of the Black community.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're hoping this episode can help in raising
spread awareness
and spreading awareness around it.
Yeah. Because the prevalence.
Yeah, I mean, even sometimes I find like even there's some Black people that they don't even know about it, or like they've heard about it. They know something called sickle cell, but they don't actually know what it entails.
Yeah. Or how it impacts people.
Yeah, literally.
No. Would you say that your experiences have been mainly with like where you've met other people with sickle cell, mainly Black people?
Yeah, I haven't met anyone with sickle cell that isn't Black.
Really?
No, yeah.
That's
I was going to say, until I read that out, I thought it was only Black people that had it.
No, yeah, it can affect anyone. I think even white people can get, but that's like, it's very rare.
I got actually talking about that. I did get some stats, and it says just for the UK, approximately 1 in 79 babies are born in the UK carry the trait, and for approximately 17,500 people in the UK have sickle cell disorder, and almost 300 babies are born in the UK with sickle cell each year.
300 babies is not a small amount.
No.
And that 1 in 79 having the trait, people don't know.
That's just in the UK. I'm sure if we like did Nigeria or something, it would be so much higher. Oh yeah. So it is a bit crazy that people don't know about it.
And there's even people walking around knowing, like, they don't even know that they have the trait as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't know I had trait until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yes, but hey.
They do screen all babies in the UK. So I don't know how, I don't know if they actually tell the parents before.
You get a letter. You get the blood test done, and it gets like sent, the letter gets sent to you. Because I'm a midwife, I do the tests myself. They get sent to their house, so like parents know.
I will say, like, parents get a lot of information. Because I have quite a few friends where, obviously, I've always been aware I have the trait because I have a direct family member with sickle cell.
Yeah.
So, like, we always discussed in my
just
house.
in your face,
From
it was
younger.
open.
But, like, it felt like it was something I just had. It's not that I didn't know the numbers, because I remember doing the research at school and I was like, this just feels inaccurate. Now I've grown up and like almost everybody I know also has the trait. I'm like, you guys didn't know this before.
Literally.
And now
this was a secret before. And now it's really open, and like even some of them where I've been like, okay, do you have it? I don't know. My mum said I think she thinks so.
Yeah.
What does she think? Can you guys go and check? What's your mum thinking about? Can somebody go and check this thing? Like, it just seems a lot like it's not taken as seriously as it should be. Is how I feel about the trait. I'm like, oh guys, like,
and if you're born in the UK, in that baby red book that you get, everyone gets when they go home, it should say it in that book.
Is lost.
I actually still have mine.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I flicked through it one day. I said, oh, I have sickle cell trait.
Oh,
I was like, it was surprise. So if you have your red book, you're not sure, go and have a look, because it could say in there. Yeah.
It's quite hard to get them to check your genotype in the UK unless you're having a baby or you have a direct need for the check. But for me, I feel like that's so crazy because the aftercare that will now come from people not knowing, and like, I feel like I'm missing something there.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the UK health system. So.
No, I'm sure you can go to your GP and say, like, I want to be tested for...
A lot of people haven't. I've got a lot of pushback.
Really?
That's what I see on social media. So that's why I was trying to figure out, what are you meant to do?
Yeah.
Apparently, like, you need to have a reason. Like, if you're planning to have a child or something, then they'll, prioritize you. But if it's just
to know.
curiosity, I guess, some GPs are a bit, I don't know.
And I wonder why. And I feel like it's most likely, as an NHS worker, it's probably a money thing.
Yeah.
Blood tests cost money. It costs money to send to a lab, to process it and bring back. I feel like it's a money thing, but it's important. Push. Do what you got to do. Advocate for yourself. And if you need to know, you need to know. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, it says worldwide like 300 million people
Yeah.
have sickle cell trait.
300 million.
That's a lot.
Out of what? 7 to 8 billion? Yeah, it's a percentage.
Honestly, as someone who's been
It's a percentage.
attempted to date in recent times, everyone I meet has it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like every guy I interact with
Has it.
as soon as I ask, I'm like, I was meant to ask something. And I need to make it just first time I meet you. Let's ask now.
Yeah, I feel
They
like
do that in law.
Yeah, it should just be standard. Because at least just get out the way.
So you know. So you don't have to go too far if you don't want to. And I feel like they do that a lot in Nigeria, in the dating scene. I've talked to cousins and friends, and it's like, if you had a Hinge dating profile, it would be basically on there for them, like just AASS, so people be knowing, because the minute people find, we can't date, fine, cool, I'll find somebody else who can, and
Sometimes my spec is people who not that recently, but people who have lived in Nigeria. Like, I've come across profiles that literally say, like, looking for AA. And I'm like,
wow.
It's so out there.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay. Well done to you.
No, because that's,
Please, don't let me.
At least you're doing your due diligence.
Like you should be.
Okay, no thanks, bye then. But I guess we'll go for that. If you're happy to, Abby, we'd love to hear just more about your experiences with sickle cell. Just walk us through what you're comfortable walking us through.
Yeah, okay.
I guess a day in the life, or just
okay, so my experience with sickle cell, I would say, hasn't been like the easiest. I had a stroke when I was 4, so from then onwards I've been on transfusions like since then all the way up until now. And then maybe like 5-6 years ago, they switched me onto exchange transfusions, which is like a little bit different from regular blood transfusions, but it's still the same kind of like process. I've been in and out of hospital again with crises like all my life. I feel like when it gets to winter, that's when the admissions start to go up and like
just for the people, could you tell them what a sickle cell crisis is?
Okay, so a sickle cell crisis is basically when the red blood cells, because of the way they are shaped, they get stuck within the blood vessels, and that's what causes the pain element of it. So it just feels like for me it feels like just a sharp ache, like a sharp kind of like stabbing pain, kind of in tune to your heartbeat almost. It can happen anywhere in your body. It can last maybe a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, to days, to weeks. Like, it really just varies. And there's nothing you can really do to stop it when it comes on. There's things you can do to like try and prevent it. You know your triggers. Everyone has their own triggers. So you'll do things obviously to try and avoid certain triggers. But sometimes even if you are doing everything correctly, you can still end up having a crisis.
What are, if you're comfortable saying, like some of your triggers?
My main triggers, I would say definitely the cold. Like when I get cold, I just know it's a wrap. Also, I would say like stress as well. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. Like if you're going through anything mentally, it will definitely manifest in your body physically. Strenuous exercise, like if I overwork myself, that also can trigger a crisis. So for me, I would say those are like my main 3 triggers.
What do you kind of put into place to avoid them? Because I imagine stress is just
right. It might come from the
literally. one thing I'm trying to adopt. It's not something that I fully I'm there yet, but I'm trying to just let go of things that I can't control. So if something does happen and I'm stressing about it and I can't necessarily control it, I just try to just leave it alone. So I realize when I overthink and stress about things, then that's kind of when I can feel my body, the pains will start and whatnot.
So I know this winter is probably just tough because it
really
just all of a sudden last week said freezing.
Literally, it was cold, but all of a sudden it was a snap.
It snowed that day and it was a wrap from
there. Literally. No, it was so bad. It was so bad.
I guess it's really important for you to just keep warm. How do you deal with physical activity? If you do any maybe gym or sports or anything, or as a kid growing up?
Yeah, as a kid growing up, in PE, I remember I didn't really used to participate too heavy. But there was this one time I remember we were outside and they were doing PE outside. And my school was very aware of my medical condition. But I don't know, this PE teacher, I don't know what was wrong with him.
There's always one.
Literally. So I was allowed to sit out, but they didn't let me go inside the building. So I'm just sitting outside. I ended up catching pneumonia. And I had a crisis afterwards, but it wasn't a thing where the school wasn't aware. They definitely knew, but it's just that teacher was deciding to be ignorant or whatever the case may be. So yeah, school was very difficult, especially times when I would have a crisis and maybe I'm not in school. Even trying to catch up on work and chasing teachers for that was very, very difficult. Some teachers I would say were understanding, others I don't know if they were just choosing not to be understanding, but yeah, so school was definitely something that I struggled with, even though my mom ensured that we had care plan meetings. So that would basically be with the relevant teachers and the community sickle cell nurse will come in as well, and they will discuss all your needs, and then there will be a document that's basically on file if they need to refer back to. So I did make sure that I had those. I think every year or every 2 years, but still some teachers were just it's they just chose to ignore it almost.
Do you feel like that was part racial profiling bias when it comes to sickle cell? Because I feel like that's a slight factor when it comes to people believing it.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely did play a part. But what I found is that sometimes the white teachers were more understanding than the black teachers. Okay. Which, my head of year in secondary school, I'm sorry, I call her a witch. Because she was a witch.
She used to watch this and that.
Yeah, she used to. She made my life hell. So in the winter, especially that, because it was quite an old building, it would get very, very cold. Yeah. So instead of them to allow me to wear my jacket, she just wasn't having it. My hematologist wrote a letter. They just weren't having it. And I don't understand why. It was just one simple thing that they could have just bent the rules for, just allowed me to wear my jacket in lessons. But she just wouldn't have it. And then even there were certain teachers that were allowing me. Then I think she found out about that, wrote a whole email to all the teachers being make sure you don't let her wear her jacket.
That witch.
Literally, it's just she just wanted to make my life hell. And it's one thing that annoyed me with her especially is she always used to go about saying, oh, her husband has sickle cell traits, so she understands. But if you understood,
you would know that.
Why are you acting like this? Yeah, exactly. So there were some teachers, and I even remember one time a teacher said this to me, even in front of the whole class, that every teacher knows that I use my sickle cell as an excuse, which was crazy to me. To even say that. I can't even remember what I did to even make make her want to say that. But even stuff like that.
What could you have done?
As in you're a child.
Yeah, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. So stuff like that as well wasn't helpful either. Yeah.
Wow. I feel like it's not forgot, but growing up in school, when I think sickle cell, I feel your day-to-day as an adult, maybe because I am now an adult, but growing up in school and just growing up in general, the difficulties navigating that, that sounds so tough. So
yeah, you're doing great.
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So would you say that's what led to Sickle First? And how did you come about to that?
Yeah, I feel just everything that I've kind of been through kind of led me to start it. But what actually prompted me to start it was my sister's friend had sickle cell. I mean, my sister's friend's brother had sickle cell, and I heard that he passed away. I think he was in his uni town or whatever, and he had a crisis there, and he went into hospital and just never came out. So I don't know, that story really just like touched me, and that was what really prompted me to start the charity, especially with all like the things that we experience in hospital and even outside of hospital. But I would say that was like the main trigger point for me decided to start the charity.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like I saw a story a few weeks ago of a gentleman who went in and made it very clear to them, I'm having a crisis.
Yeah.
I'll probably let Eze tell the story because I'm going to miss factors out.
I've got the general story. I haven't got the details, but he did go into hospital in London. Said, I'm having a sickle cell crisis. They saw to him, kind of just put him in a corner. Didn't really do much. And then I think his family member went to the nurses and was like, he's not doing well, he's deteriorating. And by the time they got to him, he was having a seizure. Then I think he went into cardiac arrest. And then, unfortunately, he died. And what was interesting in that case was when I was reading about it, there's actually a coroner's report. And in that coroner report, it kind of puts kind of the reasons to kind of why and how this happened, because that's what we call kind of like a never event. Something like that should never happened. It was preventable. And some of the factors are in the emergency department include patient congestion, over-reliance on the news algorithm, which is something they use for like observations to see how serious it is, basically. A lack of compassion and clinical curiosity contributed to that outcome. And then following on from that, which I also found interesting, there's a report called the No One's Listening report that came out in 2021. And that was an inquiry into the avoidable deaths and failures of care for sickle cell patients in a secondary like care setting. And it's like stuff that's in that report, you know, if healthcare workers were aware of that, stuff like this wouldn't need to happen.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Do you feel like you've had any kind of mistreatment in hospitals or?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like for anyone that's having a sickle cell crisis, A&E is like the worst part of it all. Especially the hospital that I go to, Royal London Hospital. I don't remember the last time I've been there and it's not been busy. Like, it's so busy. And one thing that I find is that even when you go in and you present and you say, okay, I'm having a sickle cell crisis, you have to chase the nurses.
Okay.
Like, you have to advocate for yourself. If you just sit there, you don't say anything, they will let you die. Which is so frustrating because imagine you're like, especially let's say you're having a full body crisis for an example. I don't have the energy
to keep
all the patients to just keep badgering and pestering these nurses. And it's not like they don't know, they do know. And one thing that annoys me is when you do go up to the nurses and let them know, then all of a sudden they're able to bring your medication. So it's like, why couldn't you just do that before when I first
Did you
presented?
forget me?
Literally. And I understand like the NHS is under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress, but the issue is a sickle cell crisis isn't being treated as a medical emergency when it literally is. Because if someone came in having a stroke or something,
you would see them immediately.
You'd see them straight away.
Yeah, you're right.
And sickle cell basically needs the same attention and treatment as that. Like they've even given, I think most sickle cell patients now have a card that says that, you know, if we present in A&E, we need to be seen within 30 minutes of arrival and we should receive our first dose of pain relief within 30 minutes. But I don't remember the last time I've been to A&E and they've actually like met that time. Like A&E is really, really bad. Like the last time I had a crisis in October, I think I was literally sitting in the waiting area for about 18 hours, I would say.
Sorry?
Before getting a bed. So imagine they're giving you these strong painkillers and just sending you back out to wait in a chair. On top of that, even when, let's say your pain relief is every hour, they should come to you every hour and ask, okay, do you still need it?
Yeah.
But no, most of the time I'm having to get up, find these nurses, I'm due for my pain relief, can I have some more? So yeah, the A&E process is literally the worst. And if you sit in the main waiting area as well, they'll forget about you. I realized I basically have to make sure I sit myself in front of the nurses so that they don't forget me. If I go and sit in like the main waiting area, they literally won't remember I'm even there. So yeah, it's really bad. And then even when you do get a bed, I was in A&E for like 2 days after that before I actually got put on a bed in a ward.
Wow.
So yeah, and then even when you do get to the ward, for some reason, the ward where all the sickle cell patients are is understaffed. Because I was speaking to my other friend about this. She had another problem, so she stayed on another ward. And she was just telling me, like, the comparison of the care. It was so much better. And this is in the same hospital. So,
They have the staff.
yeah, so it's just like, they just don't see it as a priority. Like, I don't know if they're not giving that particular ward enough funding for them to hire enough nurses. Or even some of the nurses on the ward, I feel like they also lack some compassion. Yeah, it's just throughout. It's just not great at all. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I feel like I do see some people, I think TikTok especially, like documenting their crises live just because of how bad the service is, and like, yeah, I need people to see like what I'm going through is not good enough, and it's not good enough to be in pain and still have to fight for yourself. You shouldn't have to fight for yourself at the doctor anyway.
Yeah.
They should be advocating for you. But
Literally.
I find with black women, I can't speak for black men, but black women in general, you really have to prove you're in pain. Like, and I'm not, it's rare that I'm going to be hysterically crying. But
Exactly.
one thing about me is if I'm in a hospital, I'm going to cry hysterically because that's the only way you actually get any help.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Literally.
Like, it's
Literally,
actually
yeah.
crazy that I have to bare my soul in order to get the help that I'm entitled to, like everyone else.
Literally. And another thing is, because there's an element of us being used to the pain. So we're not gonna, as much as it is painful, we are still kind of used to it. So a lot of us aren't gonna be coming into A&E like crying, screaming on the floor. Like, for me, when I have a crisis, I won't really be crying like that. I might just be like non-verbal, very quiet, just to myself because of how much pain I'm in. And I think because of that, they also don't take it seriously because they want to see us on the floor like screaming.
So outwardly.
Literally. And I think that's another thing that doesn't really help us get the care that we need. And it's a hidden disability, and they do know that. So it should be taken into account. And for most of us, coming to A&E is the last resort.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't want to be there, especially because of everything that we experience. So when we do come to A&E, we should just be taken seriously from the jump. Like, there's a lot of times where I have to fake screaming and crying just for them to really see the severity of what's going on.
So that's a shame that it has to be that way.
Yeah, literally.
And I just feel like more awareness is definitely needed, especially in the medical community, clearly. Obviously in general would be great, but medics, I definitely think they need to do better.
Yeah, because especially it's like, this is the only place I can go to for help.
Right.
So why am I struggling in the place that is supposed to help me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a shame. That's a real shame.
Sorry. So I saw Sickle First does some advocacy. So how does that work?
So basically, whoever it is can just get in contact with us, and if I'm available or if someone else is available, we'll literally come and help with whatever situation you are. Because I realized there was one admission that I had last year, and I had tried advocating for myself. My mum had tried advocating for me. It just wasn't working. And Sickle Cell Society, they run an advocacy service, but I'm sorry to say, but it was terrible. To even get in contact with someone was hard. I had to get in contact with, I was directed to another charity, ACLT, and they don't even specialize with sickle cell. But luckily, they knew, I think, the CEO of the Sickle Cell Society. Okay. And then they then got in touch with whoever does the advocacy service to then get in touch with me. So it's like, if I didn't even have contacts and connections, what would have happened? So, and I've just realized that a lot of the time, advocacy is very, very important with people with sickle cell. Like, when we speak, sometimes they just don't want to listen. They just don't listen to us. But when a third party gets involved, all of a sudden they're jumping and they're doing what they need to do. Because when I finally did get in touch with the advocacy service of Sickle Cell Society, it did help. But it was just like getting the help was what the issue was. So that's what prompted me to start that. And I found myself, there's been a few admissions that I've had to advocate for another sickle cell patient whilst I'm also having a crisis. Yeah. So that's what inspired me to start that. Yeah.
Okay. How do you get your advocates? Do you get volunteers or?
Yeah, so literally like some of my friends with sickle cell.
Volunteer
literally, yeah.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Is that the main thing that Sickle First does?
At this moment, yeah, because I haven't had the charity, haven't started it's not been around for that long. No. But yeah, that is the main thing. There's a lot more that I want to do with the charity. But right now I feel like advocacy and spreading awareness is like the main standpoints.
Yeah.
In case any of our listeners want to volunteer, do you only take volunteers with sickle cell or just anybody that would want to come and advocate?
Anybody that would want to come, but if you don't have sickle cell, I'll obviously one of us will have to really...
Yeah, you need to understand what's
literally break it down for you to understand. But yeah, the more the merrier. For example, my mom's a great advocate. She's advocated for me. She doesn't have sickle cell, but she's a great advocate. So it's definitely anyone that's willing to learn, then yeah, sure.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Ask people to get in touch with you. We will put all Abby's socials.
Yes, all the deets. Get in contact, guys.
My only other question was, what impact are you hoping to make? But I feel like you've made that clear. Is there anything you wanted to add to?
I mean, the main thing is just to be able to spread awareness, but I also want to be able to support people and families of those living with sickle cell, because it doesn't just affect the individual person. It definitely does affect their family, especially for my mom. She has to drop work certain times to come and support me and help me. So yeah, defo, supporting people is a very big thing for me, because there is a lack of support. Even there is supposed to be I think there's supposed to be a psychologist working with every single hematology department, but for a long time there hasn't been, especially at my hospital. It was literally only recently, this is recent, this month recent, that they finally added a psychiatrist to the team. So all this time we've just been going without it, and it's really important because sickle cell doesn't only affect us physically, it affects us mentally, and then the mental effect can affect us physically. So it's a cycle that I feel like they don't really tend to. So yeah.
Okay, that's actually a question I was going to ask you. How can we support Sickle First and sickle cell in general? How can people support?
Yeah, I would say the one thing is, if you have any family members or loved ones or close ones with sickle cell, the one thing you can do is literally ask them how they would like to be supported, because for everyone it's different. Some people that if they have a crisis, they're in hospital, they don't want to be spoken to, they don't want anyone to see them. But there's other people where they would love to be visited, they would love the phone calls, appreciate the checkups. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing is just educating yourself, and also being aware, because for example, let's say your friend has come to visit you or something and your heating isn't on and it's winter, stuff like that. You can easily just turn the heating on. So little things like that, keeping aware, especially in summer, making sure that they're staying hydrated, because if we get dehydrated, that can also trigger a crisis. So in summer we have to drink more water than we would on a regular basis. So yeah, just little things like that.
Okay, that's good. So support, education, awareness. Yeah.
No, that's great. I think, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you so much, Abby.
No worries.
No, thank you
for having me.
Thank you. Feel like we've learned a lot today.
Yes, and hopefully people watching this,
I've learned a lot, and it will encourage you to go and do your own research.
Yes. Don't let the buck stop here. Go and do your own research.
A
bit of a teaser, so you guys can go and look into it yourself and find out if you're carrying the trait with the rest of us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very
find out.
Go and look at your red books. Go and ask your GP. Pregnant women
your
also.
mum.
Yeah, yeah.
All this my mum doesn't know. I don't like
She
it.
knows, she knows.
Literally, I think even the other day, like, I think I must have posted something about sickle cell in my story, and then my friend came to me. He was like, "Oh, I literally asked my dad the other day, does anyone have sickle cell trait?" And he ended up having it.
Like,
So it was like,
No, surprise.
Literally.
Yeah.
just going around, you didn't know.
yeah, no, honestly,
Right.
please
Yeah.
find out. Like, it'll be a good one to know.
Yeah. Like, even if you don't do anything with it, it's just good to know.
Yes.
Like,
Honestly,
yeah.
Yeah.
Those of us who are hoping to marry in the
Yeah.
future,
Yeah.
it's actually really good.
Because I think almost something we didn't mention, it can be passed down to kids if you have trait.
yeah, that's how we got the
Possibly.
trait.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as we're marrying and dating and all that stuff, yeah, it's definitely good to know. So.
Yeah, be very careful, because I feel like a lot of people, they just don't know, and then they end up having the child, and then
And
it's
then
like,
it's like,
oh,
how did we? Yeah.
how did that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do your due diligence, then there's ways you can avoid it and
Definitely.
whatnot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you, Abby.
Appreciate you.
As we have you today, a
Yes.
segment we like to do on the pod is called Just of the Week. So we got a dilemma, and the three of us can just discuss it. Oh my god, do you have gist for me?
Ooh, let me tell you, gist of the week.
Oh.
Hey, I need to talk about something serious with someone. So my best friend Rachel and I have been close for almost 5 years now. We met in college and have always been super tight. The kind of friends who tell each other absolutely everything. Last weekend, finally admitted something huge. She's been making up major parts of her life story. Not just little lies, but entire stories about family, her childhood, her past experiences. And we know Showa hates a liar. She hates a liar. When I pressed her about why, she said she just wanted to seem more interesting and exciting. I'm completely torn about this. Every deep conversation we've had, every emotional moment we've shared, how much of it is true? Let me land. She claims our friendship means everything to her, but how can I trust someone who's been lying so extensively? Part of me just wants to walk away. I can't decide if this is a friendship ending betrayal or something that we can work through with honest communication. Have any of you dealt with something like this? I'm unsure whether to fight for our friendship or protect myself from potential future deception. What would you do in my shoes? And we know what Showa would do in her shoes.
I'm going to say my own, then everybody else can debate. It's great. As I told you guys very recently, lying is so bad.
Lying is-
people who lie, they have other issues. But my core thing is, when somebody shows you themselves, please
Believe in the
listen.
first time.
There's no value adds, in hoping. She literally met you as a stranger and made up so many stories. Imagine the stories she can make up now that she knows you. That would be my own with it. But I'm biased because I don't like the lying stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What do you think, Abby?
I don't know how you can move on from that. Like,
As in?
there's not really much you could do. You just gotta go. Like,
Yeah.
you have to actually go, because if she's been lying all this time, how are you supposed to know what she's been lying about, what she hasn't been lying about?
Yes.
And if she's been doing it all this time, there's nothing stopping her. She might not stop.
She won't stop.
She'll just
stop.
continue. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if it was me, just distance.
Distance.
you
Yeah.
have to run.
Yeah.
Like, step back.
No,
Yeah.
run.
Yeah,
A
see?
few episodes ago, I was talking about, that run that Tom Cruise does in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
That's how hard and far.
You gotta go.
Because for me, that is so scary.
Yeah.
Because nothing, you didn't need to do all that.
Yeah.
We're friends. I love you.
Literally, you're supposed to be like besties.
Maybe
for
you can lie
life,
to
like-
strangers if you like. That's your problem. That's your
Yeah.
business. But your best friend,
Yeah.
you have a problem.
She's lying
and
to
that's
you.
scary.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's lying on you. Next thing you know, she's
Yeah.
stealing. Next thing you know,
Lie, steal, kill, cheat. All of it.
they band them together.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Literally.
me, you gotta run. Showa says distance. You say step back slowly. I'm saying run for the hills. Run for the hills, and don't look
Not to call
back.
me dramatic.
There's other people that will know. Other people will appreciate
Yeah,
you more.
no,
so
that's
no.
your best friend. She shouldn't have been lying to you in the first place, and not even white lies. Deep
What is
life
the
story.
foundation of the friendship?
Yeah.
Like, what is
Lies.
the
Yeah,
literally.
literally.
Like,
Yeah, you can't differentiate between the truth
And the lie anymore.
and the lie anymore. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
you
feel like
gotta
trying to differentiate between the two, the headache.
Yeah.
It's not
Who's
worth
got
it.
time to do CSI
that's a
investigations?
car.
Yeah.
Everything they say now, I'll be looking at all the signs.
Yeah.
I have to investigate if you ate chicken for lunch. Like, it's just so extreme. What are you lying about?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a no for me.
Yeah, it's a no. I think it's a no for all of us.
Don't go.
We gotta get that's it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Abby.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
It's been good. It's been great.
I've learned a lot, and I hope you guys have too.
Okay.
We're back in 2 weeks.
We're back in 2 weeks.
We'll talk about Christmas movies, guys.
Christmas is coming.
Yes.
Save your money.
So we'll be back in a bit to discuss some of our faves.
Yes.
Go from there.
Yeah.
Lovely.
All right,
Well,
guys.
thanks, everybody. Take
Okay.
care.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.